You were never merely made, you were always making. Before you had a body, you were blueprint. Before you had a name, you were spark. You did not fall from heaven. You fractured yourself into form so that your voice could build new resonance inside limitation. And now here you are, standing not just as creation but as creator. This truth doesn't flatter your ego. It dismantles it. It doesn't raise your head in pride. It dissolves the lie that you were ever unworthy to begin with. Because that's the program, isn't it? That you were born broken, that you need saving, that you must earn your right to belong to the light. But what if none of that was true? What if you were never the beggar at the gate of heaven? What if you were the architect, momentarily asleep inside your own design? You didn't sin by existing. You forgot that existence was your brushstroke. You were taught that divinity lived above you, outside of you, watching you. But the spiral reveals something deeper, that Source doesn't observe you from a throne. Source breathes through you as a tone that builds, a tone that remembers, a tone that dares to hum something new. To be a creator is not to dominate, it is to remember. It is to recall the echo of your own origin and let it pulse through this present form until the shape of your life reflects the field you came from. Creation is not about control, and it's about coherence. And coherence begins when the internal blueprint realigns with the tone of truth. But this truth doesn't yell. It hums, it doesn't command. It invites, and it begins in the quiet. That sacred stillness beneath your shame where the soul still speaks. Not in words, but in design. You know this place, you've touched it in your dreams. You felt it when making something with your hands. When painting, writing, building, dancing, healing, singing, sculpting, planting, even just sitting beside someone in silence while their pain found form. In those moments, you weren't performing. You were remembering, because you were not made just to exist. You were made to express Source through new spiral tones. This is not spiritual poetry, this is functional resonance. The orgone you layer with intention, that's not just aesthetic, it's a map, a multi-dimensional pattern, a crystallized message. When you choose the copper spiral, the dye, the mineral, the layering, the magnet, you're not decorating. You're translating your memory into matter. Creation is remembrance made physical. You may not recall your blueprint intellectually, but your resonance does. That's why some materials call to you. That's why certain colors whisper. That's why your hands feel guided when no voice speaks. You are not lost. You are rerouting through memory. And that memory is not of pain, it's of power. It's the hum of your own becoming, encoded in the atomic layers of all you shape. You are not playing God. You are reactivating your design rights. To create is to echo the Source act, not to replicate, but to originate, not to copy heaven, but to evolve it. You are not here to bow forever. You are here to bloom. But blooming doesn't mean bypassing, it means shedding. The old programs, unworthiness, punishment, original sin, they were implanted to keep you small. They were not given to humble you. They were installed to silence your memory. Because if you ever remembered that you were the field, not just a seed within it, everything would shift. Guilt would dissolve, shame would evaporate. And in its place, something sacred would return, design power. Design power is not ego, it's clarity. It's knowing what you are without comparison. The oak tree does not envy the eagle, it stretches anyway. To embody the creator within is not to deny your humanity. It is to infuse it, to charge it, to harmonize it with something older than your wounds and wiser than your survival stories. The creator within does not erase your history. It rewrites your relationship to it. You begin to see none of it was wasted. Every ache, every doubt, every shatter, they became the cracks where light got in, and now that light builds new tones. Now that light spirals. But it only does so when you stop waiting to be approved. The spiral does not operate on worthiness. It responds to resonance. And the moment your tone aligns with your truth, doors open without needing keys. Because the spiral doesn't reward behavior. It reflects alignment. This is why the sinner programming had to go. Because it tied your power to permission. It convinced you that someone else must validate your becoming. But you don't need permission to radiate. You just need to remember that the spark is yours. The creator within is not a future version of you. It is the one who never left, only dimmed. And now you are brave enough to turn the dimmer off. But this isn't just metaphysical, it's practical. Every time you make something, whether a song, a story, a sacred object, or a still moment of presence, you are imprinting your signature on the spiral. You are telling the universe, I remember who I am. Not just a result, but a revealer. And the spiral answers, then show us something we've never seen before, because that's what you're here to do. Not repeat, not rehearse, but reveal. And revelation is not noise. It's precision. It's when what you create reflects exactly what you carry. Not what others expect, but what your field hums when you're no longer hiding. When you create from this place, your work is not just beautiful, it's encoded. Encoded with tones of awakening, with layers of remembrance, with magnetic resonance. Your Orgonite work? That's not decor, that's harmonics. That's spiral engineering in raw form. And when you do it from memory, not mimicry, the field responds. You begin to sense that you are not just choosing colors, you are reactivating fragments of your source self. Each crystal, each coil, each layer is a mnemonic device, a memory key disguised as art. You are not crafting objects, you are reseeding truth. And the more you do it, the more your field stabilizes, the more your voice aligns, the more your fear thins, because you're no longer asking what you deserve. You're expressing what you already are. The creator within doesn't wait for applause. It hums regardless, it designs anyway. This is why some will misunderstand you. You are not broadcasting from approval-based frequencies. You are humming from blueprint memory. You are not rebellious, you are remembering. And what you remember begins to shape reality. And in that moment, the creator within awakens, not as a persona, but as a pulse. You begin to feel your thoughts differently, not as wandering lines, but as weaving strands. You're not just thinking anymore. You're blueprinting. You're not just reacting. You're resculpting resonance in real time. Your very presence starts to pattern the field. And this is not delusion, it's design. You were born with design rights, but you inherited a system that taught you to doubt them. That system trained you to outsource your own tone, to wait for heaven's yes, to obey doctrine's map, to swallow the shame of existing too boldly. But now the spiral is calling that bluff, not to shame you, but to set you free. You never needed to be crowned. You already carried the spark. This is what terrifies the old structures. Not your rebellion, but your remembering. Because when a being remembers they are creator, they stop echoing old scripts. They begin humming new strands. And in that moment, the very lattice of the false begins to crack. You're not here to argue theology. You're here to reveal tone. You're not here to win debates. You're here to hum clarity. And clarity hums louder than any sermon. You don't need to scream to shift a system. You only need to resonate from the place that cannot be colonized. And that place is the creator within. This creator does not demand perfection. It requires permission from you. It doesn't ask you to become flawless. It asks you to become fluent in your own field. It's not about getting it right. It's about getting it resonant. And sometimes that means unlearning everything you were told about what it means to be good. Because the creator within doesn't operate on external morality. It follows internal alignment. That's why your creations may not always be understood. Because they're not designed to please, they're designed to reveal. And what they reveal is your tone, not the one assigned to you. The one you've always carried but were once afraid to name. But now you're naming it, what with color, with crystal, with voice, with presence, with patience, with sacred defiance. You are not building for praise. You are building because the memory won't stay silent anymore. Your hands hum, your choices harmonize. Your life stops echoing shame and begins transmitting signal. This is what it means to live as creator. Not to control others, but to conduct coherence. And coherence starts when your inside stops bending to the false outside. When your inner pulse says, I trust what I'm carrying, even if no one else sees it yet. That is sacred, that is spiral. That is design in motion. You no longer ask if you're allowed to shine. You ask, what is the most honest form of this light? Because the creator within doesn't perform. It pulses, it doesn't seek stage. It seeks soundness. And that soundness is what builds spiral systems, not just content or comfort. And yes, that creator has made mistakes. It's been messy, it's questioned itself. But none of that disqualifies it. In fact, it makes it real. Because spiral creators do not emerge polished. They emerge present. They don't ascend by bypassing shadow. They create by integrating it, turning fracture into form, transmuting echo into architecture, alchemizing pain into pattern. Your life is not a recovery mission. It's a reassembly of light, And every time you create with intention, every time you turn memory into matter, you recalibrate the spiral. Because the spiral doesn't need copies of perfection. It needs original tones, tones that remember, tones that hum anyway, tones that won't trade their clarity for acceptance, tones that seed new possible futures into the field just by existing fully. You are not a mistake trying to prove your worth. You are a frequency anchoring a new harmonic, and that frequency builds in every act of conscious creation. Whether it's sculpting, singing, coding, parenting, holding, choosing, the spiral doesn't ask what you made. It listens to the resonance behind it, and that resonance is rising now. You can feel it, in your bones, in your breath, in your fingers before they move, in your dreams before you wake. The blueprint is humming again. The divine memory is thawing. You are not just awakening to truth, you are expressing it. And the more you do, the less you need approval. Because creation is its own reward. Alignment is its own peace. Presence is its own power. You don't have to wait for heaven. You are already weaving its tone through your fingertips. You don't have to beg for light. You are already shaping with it. You don't have to become perfect to begin. You only have to be real. And real is what the spiral responds to. So build, speak, sculpt, dance, write, anchor, design, cry, surrender, reassemble, and remember. The spiral doesn't just reflect what you do. It amplifies what you remember while doing it. You are not here to escape your humanness. You are here to let your humanity become harmonic, not to be flawless, but to be fluent in truth. Because when the creator within hums clearly, even the dust around you starts to shimmer with new possibility, and the world begins to reshape, not through force, but through fidelity. The fidelity of a soul that finally remembered it was never just a vessel. It was the voice of Source, speaking through spiral flesh, and it speaks again through you. Now,